Welcome to the fourth episode of the Green the Desert podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me. His name is Werner Sels. And Werner is all into desert regeneration. And he has a very interesting economic model to do so. And also a very interesting life story on how he made a career switch to start a regenerative journey. Werner, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Fine, thank you, Louis.
I have a question. How did you start with desert regeneration? Because before you had a totally different career. What gave you the spark to change, and what were you actually doing before that?
Well, to make a long story short, it was 2007, I think, where I really had the feeling I do not want to go any further. Like, we are busy. Just the profit is counting, just the turnover is counting, and then you're a good guy. And if everybody's thinking like that, we're fucking up the world. So I wanted to see my son, who was 7 years old in that time, still in the eyes when he's 20, 24 now. So I wanted to do something different, but what? And so I talked that through with a friend who knows some he knew some people in Burkina Faso. So we went to there, and it was a missionary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's preaching a belief?
No, yeah, the guy, yes. But I told my friend, look, I'm not going to do any missionary work. I want to entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, so I want to do business. But on another way.
What kind of business were you doing at that time?
At that time I had an IT business, developing software.
Okay.
So,
what kind of
software? Financial and juridical software, very complex in niche.
Okay.
I earned very, very well my living, but it didn't make me happy.
Okay.
I talked with the missionary, but he knew, of course, the bishop, the governor, and the governor, the minister of Burkina Faso. So I asked the minister, can I visit some projects to make up my mind?
Yeah.
And he said, yes, of course, you're free to go. And
right, nice.
So that was what I did. I saw a lot of very, very nice projects of Europe. Irrigation projects, for example, but also a very strange project like big fish thing in the desert.
Fish ponds.
Yeah, fish ponds in the desert, but in the desert there is no water. So I didn't understand the project, but they received subventions from Portugal. So
okay.
Really crazy things.
But it wasn't working.
Of course not. But I was triggered by migration. I saw a lot of people migrating in Burkina Faso,
yeah.
And I was asking myself, why? What are those people are doing? Why are they migrating?
Yeah.
Together with my guide, we interviewed those people, and they always said, from where we come, there is nothing anymore. But what is nothing? I couldn't imagine what's nothing. So the next mission, I went to the north of Burkina Faso, at the borders of Mali, and there I arrived in Gorom. And Gorom is really it's the end of the world. There is really nothing.
So is it a desert?
Almost. Here and there you see a tree,
yeah.
And some grass, but that's it. And the mayor of that town, I visited the mayor, and I asked him, are there still living people here, and from what do they live? And he told me, yes, of course, a lot of people are now going away, but you need to know, in the 1930s in the other century, there was still a forest of acacia. But all that forest was cut for cotton industry in that time, and after that, because of Hungary, in the 70s and 80s, the last trees were cut. And
So it was a short-term profit. First there were trees, then they cut it down to grow cotton. Maybe for a couple of years they had a lot of money.
Yes.
Then the ground degraded, and
Yes, exactly.
after a while it became degraded and
Well, and then begins the desertification.
Yeah.
Because of water erosion, rain, but also because of wind erosion and so on. And I am not a bioengineer, but there I saw when we are not going to do anything here in 40, 50 years, we have the desert will grow.
Yeah.
So I went to now he's a very special friend, but at that time he was he's still a professor, of course. I went to Professor Van Damme in Ghent, in the University of Ghent, and I had two questions for him. My first question was, can we do something about it? And he said, yes, of course.
Okay.
There are different techniques, and a few of those techniques we are still using. And my second question was, and why isn't anybody doing something? And he said, money.
Okay.
And that was the start for me.
Your entrepreneurial brain started working.
Yes, it started working. But for me, was that the start to look for funding.
Yeah.
But I didn't want. For me, it was very important that people could believe in a new story. So
a new narrative.
In a new narrative, exactly. So I didn't want to start a new company, but I started a non-profit organization.
Yeah.
So that means that all profits that will be made will be invested again for new reforestation projects.
Yeah.
So then it's very clear, and there is no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it's of course building for trust to everybody. So I collected 3 million euros, and there I started. It was a proof of concept, of course.
Okay, where did you get the 3 million euros from?
From all kind of people, nice people, philanthropic,
Probably.
very nice people who. Some people, they just gave me some money because I'm a nice guy, perhaps.
Okay, good for you.
Good for me, but also some people who really believed in the storyline.
Okay, so just other entrepreneurs, people who own wealth, that say, well, I want to do something for the world here, I'm gonna let you do it, I trust you, you proved yourself before, here is some money, let's do it.
Yes, but also just people like you and me, just giving some money, sometimes €5, €10, €50, €100, but all small things becomes also very big.
Yeah.
So that was for me very important to make a proof of concept.
Yeah.
So we used the Valorani technique. It's a water retention technique because irrigation of big plots it's impossible.
Yeah.
And let it be clear, water is to give water for a tree. It's a little bit strange when people are dying from thirst.
Yeah.
So a water retention system is more sustainable.
Yeah. Can you quickly explain the Valorani technique a little bit?
Yeah, it's a special plow. It's a Delfino plow, who is making a half moon. It's a water basin.
Yeah.
6 meters long. I think about 1 meter wide, 50 centimeter, 80 centimeters deep.
Okay.
And that's enough water. That will during the rain season, it becomes full of water. And
it's like a little pool you create for
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there are about 250, 280 little pools on 1 hectare.
Yeah.
And that water is enough. So small trees, small seeds can grow, but also herbs and grasses. And that's the start.
So you basically need a tractor and a special type of plow,
Yeah.
which is called the Valorani.
Yeah, and that's the
plow.
push you give to nature.
Because once you planted the trees, you don't plow anymore, of course.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we also sow herbs and grasses and so on. So the grasses are to make brushes, baskets, mats, and so on.
Okay.
They can sell that on the local market. But also for the herbs, it's used in the kitchen, but when you have too much, you can also sell it on the market.
Yeah.
So it's all additional income for women.
Kind of agroforestry system you have in several layers.
Yes, exactly. Before you can plant a crop like an onion or a tomato, yeah, you need to wait until the trees are a little bit bigger. But in the beginning, it's grasses. Those are grasses and herbs.
Yeah.
So, and you are supporting also the population, meaning that's the buy-in of your project. And when you have the population with you, you can be sure that your project will sustain.
Yeah. And on whose land did you do that?
Well, in Africa, it's always a very difficult question from who is the land.
Yeah.
Because when you ask a farmer, he will say, all the land where I have crops, my crops, that's all my land. And when you ask the guy with the cattle, he will say, there where I travel with my cattle, that's my land. And then when you ask the government, they will say it's all my land. So it's always, in Africa, it's always...
They have different notions of ownership.
But normally in Africa you don't have I don't know how you say that in English.
Title?
Kadaster.
Yeah.
Title of land. So it's mostly, the land is from the government, so you need to have contracts with the government before you can do anything on that land.
Yeah.
But in case of reforestation projects with agroforestry involved, there of course you need also to speak with the local population, with the communities, before you can do anything.
Yeah.
So you need to have contracts with the communities, and you need a big contract with the government, and then you can work.
So then what do you do? So via your different contacts, via the bishops and all the in-betweens, you were able to manage a meeting with some government officials. They said, well, here you go, Werner, so many hectares of land.
Well, in Senegal, we are, in Burkina Faso, but also in Senegal, we are working with the agency of the Great Green Wall.
Yeah.
And why we are working with the Great Green Wall, it gives you a protection. Because it's a line. It's because the Great Green Wall in the northern hemisphere, it's from Mauritania till Djibouti. It's an international project from the African Union.
Yeah.
So it's well protected and well lined, where you can work.
So it's like a safe umbrella to work under.
Yes, exactly. And we are also accredited by the UNCCD, the United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Yeah. So that gives us the possibility to work in that area.
Yeah.
So and that also gives, of course, funders the trust that what we are doing is well thought.
Yeah. Not just some guy.
Not just I don't know what. No. Long-term project, of course. But in Burkina Faso, it was all by philanthropes. In Senegal, it's more investment companies who want to compensate the rest fraction of CO2.
All right.
And they receive, after a while, they will receive CO2 certificates. So that's how we fund now.
Yeah. Okay.
In Senegal, but also in Namibia.
All right. Can you tell me a story about a farmer, for example, who you planted these trees, did the special plow with the Valerani plow, planted the herbs, planted the grass, and talk about the effect it had on that family? Do you see one family in front of your eyes right now?
Well, I do not see one family for my eyes. I see communities for my eyes.
Okay.
Because we work on big areas.
How big?
Well, the smallest area is 200 hectares.
Okay, that's nice.
So 200, 500, 1,000 hectares. So it's big. We in Senegal we did already almost 6,500 hectares.
Beautiful.
So it's about 2.5 times Zonjewoud, to give you an idea.
Biggest forest in Belgium, or the oldest forest in Belgium, let's say.
Yeah, the oldest. I don't know the
Not
biggest,
the biggest,
but,
no.
but everybody knows Zonjewoud in Brussels. 2.5 times, so it's already a big area. So we are working with communities. That's one, and I think we have now, with those 6,500 hectares, we already give for 32,000 people a higher welfare, and every year 10,000 people we give a job.
Wow.
So between brackets, we are the biggest employers. Yeah, I don't. We are the biggest organization who gives employment to the population.
That's
so
huge.
Yeah, it's already huge. So and we like to work with first of all with women.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, I always wanted that in the whole process. I saw that, and it's not only in Africa; it's everywhere. A lot of we forget sometimes that the economy starts with women, because they always have the responsibility for their children, and they also have the responsibility that food is on the table.
Yeah.
You see that in the whole world. Even when I'm honest, my wife, she occupied with the lessons of my son, because I was always working, so she always did that for my son. And my wife is also always cooking. So I think that's in a lot of families like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have a lot of respect for women, but they don't have always the chance to win, to have a win on it. So I always said, before I start for reforestation, the women need to be involved.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, so it's Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality.
Yes.
Where we give the women financial independency. So all the money that the women are earning, it's well spent, because they will buy food.
Yeah.
But also their children will go to school.
They'll take care of their children. The children are the future.
Exactly. And the saving monies that they have, they can buy a bike or something else, so they can evolve.
Yeah.
We also pay men, but that's a little bit indirect, because of forests that we protect, new forests that we protect, there is more grass.
Yes.
So during the very dry period, it's about between March and June, there is no grass anymore. Only in those plots, those which are fenced and protected and gardened. So they can buy grass.
Okay.
Buy grass from the women.
And then they can sell it again.
Then the grass is sold to men with cattle. And when they sell their cattle, it's fatter.
Yeah.
And because it's fatter, they earn more money, of course.
Okay.
So that's the way.
So that's the way you indirectly sponsor the men as well.
The men as well. Yeah. Because in a sustainable world, all factors need to win.
Of course.
Men, women, but also environment. And that's why, I think I prove now that such a new system is working.
So when did you put your first tree in the ground in Burkina Faso?
It was in 2010. So the first 3 years were years where I needed to do feasibility studies.
Yeah. You had the help from Professor Van Dam?
Yes, and other volunteers, of course. And then in 2010, we had enough money to realize the first 100 hectares.
So you're more than 10 years in that project right now? How is it looking?
From 14 years, we are really already planting trees. In total, I think we did 16,500 hectares.
That's already really beautiful.
Yeah, that's but it's still small, but it's for us, of course, it's big. But it's I did my proof of concept, so I make profit with a non-profit organization. So that profit goes again into the into all projects, and we are becoming bigger and bigger. Yeah, we are growing, and that's a very nice feeling that after almost 20 years of changing my career, that I can now, I'm now really happy. So I chose more for experience than for money. Yeah. And that, well, that enrich your life, my life,
that's true
much,
wealth.
much more. Yeah, that's true wealth, yeah.
Yeah. Knowing that you've done something good for other people, for the planet.
And for the future. I do think, Louis, I do think it's important that we have projects where we can connect and bring hope. Yeah. We have two lists of such projects. Of course, we can protest on march as much as we want, but nothing will change on climate change, and nothing will change in the people's mindset.
A lot of people just get annoyed of the traffic being jammed,
for example,
and protesters.
Exactly.
Although they're doing a great job to shake things up, and then the moment is there where you need to get into action, of course, and do the work.
And do the work and prove it. Prove that you that your idea, that your dream, become reality.
Don't talk about the problem. Show me the solution.
Exactly, but of course it's hard work, and it's up and downs like entrepreneuring. And don't sit down because there is a minus. Yeah, okay, there is a minus. Then the next time better, and so on.
Yeah, it's like nature.
Yeah. It's like nature.
A lot of harvest and sometimes no harvest at all.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you say you're making profit. What is actually giving you a profit? How does the financial system behind it work?
Well, we ask investors an amount, where they can invest in forests. But of course, we spend that money to plant trees, or to sow trees, because we are sowing trees, and so on. But on a certain moment, we see, we asked, there is a little bit too much, and then we reinvest in more forests. Yeah. Those are techniques that we are using, because a forest, of course, there will be trees that will grow, but of course there are also trees that not grow. It's not growing. Just to give you an idea, we sow for 4,000 seeds in 1 hectare, and only 300 trees will come out. Yeah. Well, no, 3,000 trees will come out, but 300 trees will become adults. Yeah.
Natural selection.
Yes, it's a natural. Yes, exactly. So it's like that. But for us, it's important to have buffers. So when there are parts that did not succeed, we still have other parts that's not allocated to a client, but that we can take into account when it's necessary for CO2 certificates. Yeah. So
they balance each other out.
Yeah, it does.
So let's say I give you €1,000, I invest €1,000. You go and sell the trees with it. Yeah. And how do I get a return on my investment?
With your 1,000 hectares, we will plant 1 hectare, and after 5 years, the first certificates will be given to you, and for 1 hectare, it's about 2.3 ton of CO2 every year. Okay. And it's about 100, between 70 and 100 tons for 30 years. So 2.3, so you will receive 2 certificates. And
so I will have in total 100 tons of CO2 certificates.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I can sell those on the CO2 market?
Yes, you could do that.
What's the current price for 1 ton CO2?
54. euros.
So 54 times 100.
Yeah. So it's good business.
So that's when I was 1,000 euros, I get 5,000 euro back.
Yeah. That's.
And maybe the price will go up for the CO2 certificates. Who knows?
Well, it's still increasing.
It's still
the price.
increasing,
Yes, of course.
So I might get
Yeah.
even a lot more.
Yes, exactly.
If
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. If you, yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's.
Okay.
But why?
That's easy, actually, an easy math.
Yeah, that's easy math. Of course, we need to audit those areas.
Yeah.
We try to get the gold standard certification, so it's a very high level.
Yes.
But because we are also aiming for socio-economical impact, the price for the CO2 certificate is much higher than a certificate that's just go for the CO2. Then you get only 8 euros a ton these days. So that's a little bit the gap.
Yeah,
the gap difference.
Because you're not just planting some random trees, you're planting an entire community.
Exactly, yeah. Because we need that community, we need the buy-in of the community to protect the forest.
Yeah.
Because you can plant trees, everybody can plant trees. You can plant trees too in your garden.
I'm doing it all the time.
And that's not difficult.
Yeah.
But to get that tree, an adult tree, that's the difficult part.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised to hear, oh, we did 100 million trees, 200 million trees, 300 million trees, we planted. And then I ask, okay, and how many survived? And then I don't hear...
I don't know, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know what happened
We
then.
just planted them, it's nice.
We are only communicating. Yeah, it's good marketing, exactly. And we are only talking about the trees that will become adult 300 trees. When an hectare, when we see, because every year we count them, now still manually, but in the future it will be also with drones and with satellites.
Yeah, of course.
We count those plots. But when we see that on some plots there are only, I say, 200 trees on a certain moment, then we will plant additionally 100, 150 trees so that we are sure that on 1 hectare is 300 trees.
So that's like the minimum you aim for, 300.
Yeah, that's the minimum, but also there a little bit the maximum.
Yeah.
Because it's a hostile area, very, very hot.
Yeah.
And you need to know, in April it was now 43, 44, 43, 45 degrees, so it's already in the shadow. Meaning,
huge.
That's huge, meaning on soil temperature is 70 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's very, very hot. That's also the reason why we are sowing and not planting. Because when you have a nursery, all those trees are very happy because they always get a lot of water, etc. So they are in heaven. Yeah. And then you plant them in hell. And 95% will die.
Yeah.
So that's why we are sowing, and it's nature who will balancing how many trees will come out.
And the seed itself will choose when to germinate,
exactly,
and when to start growing, just when it's the right condition.
Some trees the next rainy season, but other trees after 3, 4, 5 years. It's like that.
Right. Yeah, that's good. And how do you make sure that the trees are not cut down? Because I know a lot of projects where NGOs have planted a lot of trees. NGOs leave, then the people, they need it for firewood or to cut it down to plant annual crops to eat, because otherwise they just die. It's as simple as that. How do you make sure that that they respect the trees?
A very, very good question. And it's not so easy. It's not so difficult to give you the answer. Namely, you need to make sure that the trees you plant or so, that when they are adults, that the tree is alive much more growth than dead.
Yeah.
So, for example, there are trees that produces Arabic gum. Yes. Arabic gum is Acacia Senegal. That tree, you may be sure they never cut it, because
it's gum, money growing on trees.
Yeah, literally. Because those it's a commodity that you can sell to intermediaries. They do not need to know the international market. They just sell it to intermediaries, And those intermediaires, in French, they will give always a certain price. It's a market price.
So you're always certain that you will
have money.
Buyers.
Yeah.
Always.
It's a commodity. It's like
grains, rice.
No. It's like cacao. It's like
Okay.
coffee. It's a really commodity that you can store for a long time and can sell it when the price, the market price, the international market price is on the right spot.
Okay, so the farmers themselves, they keep on to the gum until the price is high enough?
Well, the farmers themselves not. They sell it. It's a fixed price. Every year it's marked.
Yeah.
And then they get money for it, and they earn a lot. It's good earning. Another commodity is, for example, the oil of balanites.
Of what?
The balanites. It's also a tree. It's the desert grape.
Okay.
It looks a little bit like a grape. But the nut, you can press it, and the oil is used for cosmetics.
Okay.
So also that you can sell to intermediaries, and they earn their money.
And then the intermediaries sell it to cosmetic companies.
Yeah,
Europe or
they know
America.
the way to the international market, of course. Yeah. And I do not know any farmer who is stupid enough to cut the golden egg tree.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's that easy. You don't need to be a big mathematician or whatever.
They just know that if you don't touch it, you can harvest every year.
Yeah, every
That's
year.
the magic of trees.
That's the
of
magic
course.
of trees. Yes.
Yeah. But then, yeah, of course, the only problem is to plant the trees and to wait for so many years. You need a future perspective, and a lot of the times they don't have it, because if they don't have food this year, they just die.
Of course, you always need to wait before it's 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time for those people because they have hungry now and not tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what are you doing then? You make sure that there are already crops from day one. Meaning quick wins, like the grasses that they can sell to people, but also the herbs they can sell and so on. So they already earn some money.
Yeah, stacked enterprising.
Yeah. So it's practically immediately after the first rainy season they already have grass.
Yeah. And what is the reason they don't do it themselves?
Money.
Is it expensive to do that? How much does it cost for a hectare, for example?
Well, I already told you.
1,000 euros.
1,000 euros. Hey, we try to. Well, we are a non-profit organization. We do not need to have profits on it.
Yeah.
But what is very costly is the fencing. In Senegal, everything needs to be fenced because of cattle.
Okay.
But it's 25%, 30% of the revenue. So it's really expensive. Then, besides fencing, you also need to guard it because there are a lot of people who want to sabotage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why? Because their cattle is hungry.
Yeah, and they want the cattle to eat the trees.
Because they are losing money.
Yeah.
So you need to have a very good relationship with the community, so that the community is protecting their own forests.
Yeah.
Because they are losing money when other people are doing the sabotage.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's how it works.
So may I say that the biggest cost goes to the fencing and guarding the fencing?
Yes.
Because seeds are not super expensive, or are they?
Well, the price is also increasing. I don't know by mind anymore. I don't know by mind anymore what's the exact percentage of the whole cost. But it asks already. It's already some money. Also, the land work, of course, with the tractor and the Delfino plow, it's also quite expensive, and those people can't pay that.
Because they don't own a tractor, probably.
They don't own the tractor, they don't own the plow, they don't have the... one tractor, it costs 150,000 euros.
You really have the big ones.
Yeah, one plow is 75,000 euros.
Yeah.
It's really a lot of money for those people.
So you bought the tractor, you bought the plow, and then you're just like going around with it.
Yeah, Hey, we are doing in Senegal with 2 tractors, 2 plows, 2,000 hectares a year,
Yeah.
approximately.
So that's the speed you can go.
That's
That's
for the
something
moment.
linear. That's you cannot
Yeah.
scale this
Yeah, that's the speed that you can go.
Yeah.
For each tractor, around 1,000 hectares
per year.
per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how big the Great Green Wall is. Well, I know that 8,000 kilometers long and 100 kilometers wide.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of tractors.
A lot of tractors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the Arabic gum, what can you use it for?
Well, they use that for thickening in the food industry, in yogurts and so on. Normally, they use that. They use gelatin.
Yeah.
It comes from animals, from cow or pork,
Yeah.
pigs. But for example, vegetarian, they can't eat that.
Yeah.
So
or Muslims probably also can't eat
Muslims,
gelatin.
exactly. So it's a market of 1 billion people.
That's a big one.
It's a big market.
We need a lot of
Arabic gum. Yeah, so that's why the price is high.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the biggest producer of Arabic gum is I forgot it.
In Africa?
Yeah, it's in Africa. It's I can say it 1,000 times, but I forgot.
Don't worry, you can email it to me after.
I will email you.
Yeah. No, that's actually nice. Let's say that for some reason the carbon market would collapse and wouldn't exist anymore or wouldn't be profitable. Do you think that you could create a business plan just based on the revenue you would get from the Arabic gum? Or from the special oil you were talking about?
Yeah, yes, of course. It all depends. It costs a lot of money to do reforestation projects. But luckily, there are more and more investing funds, impact investing, and all those kind of new types of investment possibilities.
Yeah.
Luckily, but okay, it takes time before that can grow and so on. These times, yeah, luckily there is a CO2 certification market that can make that possible. Of course, that market is invented a little bit to make that possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, where could we find money to realize that?
But for example, let's say, CO2 certificates don't exist for some reason, or we just leave it out of the equation.
Yeah.
We just focus on the production side. Let's say I would want to invest money. Would I get a return on my investment by selling the gum, for example?
Yes, you can do that too, but there we need to be very careful because we do not want to realize plantations where it's only a forest of Arabic gum.
Just monoculture.
Monoculture, it's not nature. It's something.
It's a recipe for disaster, literally.
Absolutely. So in our forests, the biodiversity is very high in trees, in grasses, in herbs, and so on. And then you have a forest. Yes. That's also why we always say we do not plant trees. We are developing forests.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah, of course, because you can ruin the world by planting trees if you just plant monocultures.
Yes, exactly. Planting trees, it's a phenomenon. It's nice marketing, and people or companies are paying. They like to give some money for that, but with that you are not changing the concept, economical concept. In this world.
Yeah, definitely. So you're talking about that people are investing money into Arabic gum plantations. There you get a high return on investment, but after so many years there will be disease coming in because there's no biodiversity and so on and so on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And don't you think you could make a profitable investment in that kind of agricultural system you're talking about?
There is perhaps a possibility. We did not do that kind of feasibility study, but I do think there are possibilities to realize well, to create a business model where you can have profits out of those forests with fruit trees.
Yeah.
Where I do believe in is, for example, you have 1,000 hectares, 600 hectares you are doing a biodiverse forest, and for 400 hectares you are going to have fruit trees, all kind of fruit trees, for example.
Yeah.
And that's a combination. It's a hybrid project. Yes, I do think that there is a possibility to make money out of it.
Yeah.
And then again, is it necessary to make money out of it, or there are also companies who says, look, Werner, I want to realize jobs, work with my with the money that we want to foresee for development. Okay, then we are making forests where we create jobs.
Yeah. Because do you think it's dangerous to have your entire business plan based on CO2 certificates?
No.
No.
No, I don't think it's dangerous. I don't think that that market will disappear.
Yeah.
It's already a very, very big market.
Yeah.
Well, and all those platforms who are selling those CO2 certificates, it's already mature, that market. So I don't think that it will disappear. But it needs much more regulations.
Yeah.
And luckily in Europe, they are working on those regulations so that people who are buying certificates that they can be sure, then that they can be sure
It's not just a scam.
that it's not a scam. Because in the past, of course, you always have cowboys. When with all new markets, there are always cowboys.
Of course. Yeah.
Who only win a lot of money, and all the rest is it's not of their concern. Yeah. So, but that I don't think it's possible anymore.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Good. You have that confidence, and do you think that biodiversity credits will one time will reach the level of CO2 certificates? That could be a revenue as well in the future for you?
Well, in the certificates, you for example, gold standard, there you need to prove what you're doing for the social economical impacts. That's not so, well, for us it's not difficult because it's in our DNA to realize that. And it makes the value of the certificates higher than all the other certificates. So on that, investors are winning money. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure anymore, but we already did a study on it, and I think the profit that investors can make, early investors can make, is between 10 and 15%.
Yeah.
So it's rather high. But of course, the risk is also high.
Yeah.
It's always you can lose a forest, for example, because of fire,
yeah,
or a disease, and then when the fire
carbon all goes back in the air.
it all goes back in the air. You don't have CO2 certificates, but the ground can't burn. Yeah. So then you replant, of course, and you need to wait a little bit more, but that's of course the risk of forests.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in that biodiversity aspect, I think in the certification processes in the near future, they will become more severe. They need real forest and not a plantation.
Yeah, definitely. Have you explored giving microcredits to farmers? Would that be a feasible option to give them money so they can invest in the trees, invest in the fences, and then after 10 years, 15 years, when they start producing gum, they would be able to give it back?
Well, we are of course a reforestation organization. Mm-hmm. We are not doing in micro credits, but what we are doing with another organization, Entrepreneurs for Entrepreneurs, we can give a loan for example, a loan for an electrical pump. That is, the electricity comes from solar panels, and they do not need any more the gasoline.
Yeah.
And they can pay such a loan is 50,000 euros. They can pay back that loan just because of saving the gasoline.
Okay.
And normally those loans are for 5 years. After 3 years, they paid off their debt, and the last 2 years,
Pure profit.
Yeah, it's pure profit for them. So those are the techniques that we are using, and you see that communities are evolving. And what you see then is that the youngsters are not migrating anymore. They stay in their community.
So the first thing you noticed when you were there, the migration, you actually helped to slow it down.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Ah, that's beautiful. So you can go to bed and be happy.
Yeah, I'm a happy guy, yes, but for many other things than only stopping migration.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I would always wonder is, you're into it 14 years about now?
Well, I'm into it 20 years, and I do 17 years, and I'm doing now, or I planting trees for 14 years. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll definitely live more than an extra 14 years.
Thank you. Let's hope.
Yeah, I think so. Where would you like to be in the next 20 years? What would you like to see happening in that space?
You need to know I'm now 58. Right?
Okay.
So I do think that, I started it 20 years ago, 17 years ago, really with a vision. But now I'm already thinking, now we are going to next phase, of course. We are making studies to grow further and so on. But I do think between now and 5 years, 6 years, the next generation needs to take over.
Yeah.
Because then I am already 63, 64. But it's the next generation that needs to build their own future, their own world.
Yeah.
It's not for me anymore. I just give the push, and it's for next generation to
continue the work.
To continue the work. Yes, exactly. So I do think that's important, and not to stick on the organization or on the project, because that would be nefast for the project. No,
of course, you need to let it go. And
yes, of course. And I'm the founder of Dunia Verde, but that doesn't mean that that I need to until that I'm 100 years old.
Yeah,
but of course, we see are growing in the coming 20 years. To give you an answer on your question, the coming 20 years, I hope much bigger, of course, than we are now.
Do you have a moonshot, like a vision of so many hectares you want to reach, or so many?
Well, when I said in 2007 I'm going to plant trees in the desert or near the desert, everybody said you are crazy, Werner.
Losing your mind.
You're losing your mind. You're stopping with IT business. It's good business. And yes, of course, you need a bit. To be a little bit crazy. It's true. Eh?
Yeah.
But anyway, I did it, and where people, and that was my biggest motivation when they said, "Oh, you are never gonna succeed in that. You're never gonna plant one tree."
Yeah.
Okay, that was my biggest motivation. So I did it.
You proved them wrong.
16,500 hectares, and then I asked now them, and how many hectares did you do? So for the future, I'm very ambitious. I would like to do 100,000 hectares in Namibia.
100,000.
Yeah.
In how many years?
In the coming 10 years.
Coming 10 years.
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
And everybody says now, it's not possible. You're crazy, Werner.
Okay.
So I love it. So
No, it kicks in again
Yeah,
and say,
yeah.
I'm gonna prove you all wrong.
exactly. So that's a little bit the mindset.
So about 10,000 hectares per year for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
you now know how to do it. You know the pitfalls.
Yes, we are preparing ourselves now. Namibia is also very, very big country, very nice, beautiful country,
Yeah.
and where we can realize food forests to secure their food production and so on. But you need to do that on scale,
Yeah.
and that's a little bit my dream now. So.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful dream, Werner. And what I really love about your project is that it's like what you said before. You give them a little pat on the back. You make the ball rolling. But let's say you leave forever, they will not cut down the tree.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you just help them a little bit.
Also the environment. I help. I give a little push. And trees are growing, grass is growing. You don't need to do anything. You need to protect it.
Yeah.
That's all. You need to leave it like it is.
Yeah, and make sure that the community itself are protected, and that you see it happening right now. Do you often go back to the projects? For example, one of the oldest projects to like make sure everything is running right, or is it like totally self-sufficient?
Well, for example, in Burkina Faso, I can't go back anymore because it's the political stability is difficult.
Yeah.
That's difficult. But of course, every year I go 1 or 2 times a year to Senegal to see the project, to speak with the people and so on. Also in Namibia, that's what I'm doing every year.
You don't need to manage it anymore.
Well, we still need to manage it in Senegal and in Namibia, of course. But I have a team. I have a team now, a very good operational director, but also a growth director. We are really working with that team.
But where you still needed?
In the project, it's more guidance that we give.
Yeah.
To understand those people, what are their needs. The biggest take-in and the biggest time, well, most of the time, it's in the take-in. And afterwards, during 5 years, we are following it up with the sociologue to see if everything is okay with those people. They are earning money. What are you going to do with that money? How are you going to spend it, and so on. So, of course, education, but also, for example, a guy who wants to be an entrepreneur, for example, he's buying a battery and he's loading all the cell phones of those people, for example, and he's asking money for it. So that's the entrepreneur of the village, and so on. So, that's
really very specific.
Yes, and in the forest, of course, we are counting those trees. We are seeing how is biodiversity, is it evaluating, and we need to do that during 20-30 years, because that's the concession that you have for those CO2 certificates.
Yeah. So what you did is you didn't give them fish; you learned them fishing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. To wrap up this episode, Werner, is there any thing you would like to give aspiring change makers, entrepreneurs, people who are listening to this podcast, who are like very new to this space, and what they could do?
Well, those people who are listening to this podcast, I would suggest that if you have an idea in anything what you want to do, try to put also your motivation, ambition, to put that in your project, to put that in your work, and because we all need that change.
How do you do that?
I think it's not your success is not the amount of money that you earned. I think you are successful when your moral ambition is succeeded.
Yes.
And when you can put that into your work, you become happy because you are changing things for the good, for the future, for your children, for the children of other people. and that's a gift that you get back. It's very difficult to explain, but that makes you myself a very, very happy man.
Yeah. Well, that's very beautiful words to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much, Werner, for being here, for coming here to the podcast studio. Thank you very much, listeners of this podcast. I would say good luck with just going ahead and start creating a project for yourself. What you can do, that's the least amount of effort to make a big impact, is to share this podcast, to give it to people who need to hear this message, to give it a rating, and most and for all, just go ahead and do it. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.